For most people, travelling is something they aspire to do, to see different parts of the world, to immerse themselves in new cultures, or just to really grow as a person. As you'll see by the clip at the end, I've been lucky enough myself to travel to some fantastic places across the world, but this is a list, and no more messing around, here is number 10. Hollywood, Santa Monica, Rodeo Drive, the end of Route 66, the death of James Corden's career. There really is no shortage of things to see in the City of Angels. It's normally warm, there are so many places to eat, and it just really gives off the vibe that it's a really special place. So many talented and amazing people, and James Corden, call LA home, and it's really not hard to see why. On the flip side though, LA is super expensive, especially for food and drink, and the city doesn't seem to want to do much about the growing homeless population on its streets, which, you know, they should be fixing. Listen, there can be absolutely no doubt that the best thing in the entirety of Stockholm is the ABBA Museum. Just kidding, it sucks. I fulfilled 2 dreams in the city. One was seeing Imagine Dragons perform live, which, by the way, was amazing. And the other was eating authentic Swedish meatballs. IKEA will never be the same again. While I was there, I also saw a movie about Stockholm Syndrome. It really captured me, even though I didn't like it at first, and by the end, I loved it. I must have met the wrong Canadians at the border, because I didn't apologise once, I didn't get my complimentary maple syrup, and I didn't even get a moose ride to my own hostel. Thankfully though, the spectacular Niagara Falls made up for my entry hostilities, and some wonderfully greasy poutine turned out to be the perfect hangover cure. My only regret is that I wasn't able to stay for longer, but I hope I go back one day. Being completely honest, when I booked a flight across Europe that had me staying one night in a place 50 miles from the Russian border, I may have had to change my underwear. I also expected it to look very Soviet and drab, straight out of Cold War zone kind of vibes, but there is no shame for me in saying this, I have never been more wrong about a place. It is a really beautiful city, it's also really cheap, and as I found out, pierogi tastes amazing. Marrakesh is known as the Red City, and that's exactly where my bank account would be headed if I was polite to everyone in the markets at night. It's got history, culture, great food, and spectacular views. It is truly a one-of-a-kind place, though I'm not sure I appreciate the 47-degree heat in the middle of summer though. If you're wondering about whether it is worth it to go, hands down, definitely do it. In the country where Lego originated, the shops are so popular, they've got people queuing up for blocks.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It is also home to my favourite shop in the world, Flying Tiger. I kid you not, between the high food prices and the airport delay, the garlic crisps and chocolate milk from Flying Tiger really came in clutch. Other famous attractions include the Little Mermaid, a fully grass ski slope on top of a dump, and this weird crystal dome. Copenhagen would probably be 2 or 3 on this list if it wasn't for bed bugs in my hostel when I stayed there. I returned to an American city on this list, except this one really reminded me of home. It's wet, windy, and it has overpriced fish and chips. The Space Needle is definitely worth a visit, as is the Glass Garden, which is conveniently next door. It's also full of hills, which my legs didn't appreciate, but the photos I got made up for it. And it also has an Olympic park, even though it's never hosted the Olympics. The simplest reason as to why this is number 3 on my list is just because of where I was staying. The Bay of Naples, Mount Vesuvius, and the townhouses of Sorrento themselves were just some of the things I could see out of the window of my room. Definitely one of, if not the, best views I've ever had from a hotel room. I came away from Italy with a bootleg Naples shirt, which was up on my wall for some time, and some weirdly phallic-shaped pasta. New York, the big concrete apple jungle. It's one of the major cities in the world, let alone the US, and it's also happens to be one of my favourite places as well. Between the Empire State Building, Statue of Liberty, Central Park, and the Brooklyn Bridge, it just feels like one massive movie scene. I only wish that I didn't have to change accommodations halfway through, and ideally I would have been quoted less than $11 for a pint of Guinness, but at least the breakfast bagels made up for it. So, rounding off my list is none other than Honolulu, Hawaii. It's both the furthest I've been from home and arguably the most fun I've ever had. The food was fantastic, the beaches were incredible, and still being able to see that Polynesian culture and the American military history at Pearl Harbor was something I really enjoyed. I cannot pick a fault with the place, and that's why it's at number 1 on my list of the best places in the world.